Good morning, Juliana. Yes, we have a long-standing history pushing BP towards a more sustainable future. And this is very significant. 24% is a true shareholder rebellion. Also taken into account that the chairman was going anyway. So yeah, investors send a very strong signal that they're concerned about BP's climate policy, about their governance, and about the influence of a short-term investor like Elliott. Alleged influence, I should say, because they've never been public about it. But they had influence. BP made a panic U-turn on their climate targets.
So what's going to change now? I certainly take your point about how symbolic this vote was, but what's going to actually change at the company?
Now, we hope that Amanda Blank, the non-executive board member who is going to search for a new chair, will take this into account. And she will look for a new chairman who is climate competent, who is transition competent, and who is has a bigger backbone and will not respond to short-term activists so quickly.
Well, one of the interesting things that's happened in the last few years for BP is that they were somewhat bailed out by a higher oil price in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which arguably took the pressure off them somewhat when it came to their energy transition goals. Now, a very different story. All of this change is happening at a time where the price of crude is collapsing thanks to President Trump's tariff policies. So could that in itself expedite some of the changes toward toward the energy transition?
Yeah, we hope so, but it's a pity that it's so late, and that not only applies to BP but for the entire oil industry. They have enjoyed very high oil prices in the recent years since the Ukraine war, and what they should have done is invest these huge profits into the business models of the future, clean energy. They refused to do so. They invested in more fossil fuels, and now they're suffering. So I hope this will be the second wake-up call that they really have to invest in the business models of the future. Clean energy is the future. Technology is getting cheaper. Getting oil out of the ground is getting more expensive. So they have to transition. Otherwise, they will be the codex of the 21st century.
Yes, the word that keeps coming up, even as you describe it, is the future, the future. And yes, you may very well be right that these changes are necessary for the future of the energy sphere. But short term, this is a company that is still beholden to shareholders. It is a publicly traded company, and to some extent they are under pressure to deliver nearer term. So how do they balance the need to deliver returns to shareholders near term, to keep investors in the company, to have the money to invest for the future?
Yeah, they have to take the profits from fossil fuels as long as they're there, and then realize that all investments in the energy sector are long term. So if you decide to go to the North Sea to explore more oil and gas, this will take 15 years before there will be any oil which you can sell out of that well. So the oil industry is a long-term industry. They should realize that in the next decade they have to transition, otherwise they will go bankrupt.
What's ironic is that BP was one of the first companies in the energy sector to acknowledge the need to transition and acknowledge the need to diversify away from oil and gas decades ago. And yet they sit here today as one of the last ones to actually execute a strategy that positions them for that future. If you could pin it down to, one or two milestones that have blocked that progress, what would you say it is? What's gone wrong for BP?
What's gone wrong is that they never really tried. They called themselves Beyond Petroleum. They really wanted to look like a clean energy company, but they wanted to stay a fossil fuel company. So even the last years, when they announced for the second time they would go into transition, their investments in clean energy were always less, on average, less than 10%. 90% still went to fossil fuels. So you can't claim to be in a transition if 90% goes to your old business. So that's the problem with BP. They always pretended to be in transition, but they never tried. And now they're punished for that because the direction is not clear.